Tonight, local law enforcement throughout the Wiregrass responding to the death of Tyree Nichols. Last night, mourners gathered at a vigil for Nichols at the very same spot where he was beaten by 5 Memphis police officers before he later died of his injuries. Those officers have since been fired and charged with murder. The 29-year-old was a father to a 4-year-old son. Memphis police announced 2 more officers have been relieved of their duties pending an investigation. And the Memphis Fire Department announced it fired 2 EMTs and a lieutenant for allegedly not administering adequate care for nearly 7 minutes. To begin our coverage of local reaction to Nichols' death, we go now to Aaron Dixon, live from our WDHN newsroom. Aaron?
Amanda, Henry County Sheriff Eric Blankenship says the standard for being in law enforcement is the highest it's ever been, and says that extra precautions are in place that will hopefully help prevent an incident here like what happened in Memphis. On Friday, videos were released showing the violent arrest of 29-year-old Tyree Nichols, a Memphis man who died 3 days after he was beaten by police in a traffic stop in early January. Sheriff Blankenship says they have had cases of excessive force in his time in law enforcement, and says now as sheriff, it starts with him as to provide his department with the correct policies and procedures that allow his deputies to do their job, but also hold his deputies to a higher standard.
It's just as important to us that not only are we enforcing the laws of the state, but that we're also adhering to the laws as well. We're, as law enforcement officers, we're not above the law. We're still held to a higher standard of our service.
One place it starts is in the hiring of law enforcement.
The background procedures, the psych evals, the extensive backgrounds that not only go into what used to be just a criminal history, now we're required doing background checks via social media.
And that it comes down to training, providing deputies and officers all of the necessary tools needed to do the job. Police leaders in several departments have argued that the high number of complaints and use of force incidents are due to the exact work they are asked to do, interrupt patterns of dangerous crime often involving guns or drugs.
We're human too. People's emotions get involved. You know, people push our buttons just the same way. It's our job as officers to keep that accountability and to also, you know, step in and de-escalate that situation.
The state now requires all law enforcement agencies to log and report any excessive force used by an officer for their records, and then it goes into a database. The database tracks disciplinary actions and excessive force complaints against law enforcement officers, a measure aimed at weeding out bad apples in the profession. Now, that database is not public. It is just for law enforcement use only, including for police and sheriff's office agencies to review a job candidate's background. The state is still fine-tuning the online database for agencies, which will make it easier for agencies to quickly access an officer's past history with excessive force. That database should be finished in the coming months.